Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Before I start today's video, I would just like to wish everybody a very healthy and happy new year. Today's card is a regular single fold card. The technique that I'm going to show you isn't one that you can use often because you need certain dies, and once I'd done this one I went through all my other dies and there are very few that this can actually be used on for good reason. What I mean is, for this die set, which is called Sea Life, I've only got the one sea lion. Okay, so I've used that to do both of these. Other dies that you can do this with are solid dies, like we have the dogs, the playful pets. You could die cut two of those using this technique, so you've got two of them facing each other, but for that one you would need to actually stamp the image first and then do reverse stamping to do that, whereas this one is just the die. I have got a video where I show how to do reverse stamping, which I will link in the video below, but this is just die cutting. And the other thing, when I was making this card, I did actually do it for my blog last week, but once I'd finished writing the blog, about 800 words on it, I went to put the feature photograph in it, and I don't know what happened, but things just went pff, and my blog disappeared into the ether, never to be seen again. So when I showed Hubby the card, which I showed him after that had happened, he said, surely that's a video. So this is what I'm doing. The other thing, as I say, with this was I wanted to pop the seahorse up, but with all of that cutout work there, I really didn't fancy using tiny bits of dimensional here, there and everywhere to pop it up. So I've used another of my techniques that I like. If you've watched lots of my videos, you'll already have seen me do this, but it's just great techniques, and it does extend the capabilities of your dies if you can do this with it. Obviously you need, I think, something living, like an animal, like an animal, a bird, insect, something like that, something that has a face. Not so easy with flowers, although you could have daffodils if you've got two daffodils like facing towards each other, but I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. But it's ideas, lots of different ideas. So to start off with, I'm going to tell you the card pieces that you'll need, and the measurements I'm giving you are inches for A4 cardstock users. In the box below, when I put these measurements in, I will also put the inches measurements for letter size cardstock users, and also metric for A4 cardstock users. These are my typical measurements that I use on my blog for what I call irregular cards. So my card base is 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored and folded at 4 1/8 inches. 2 pieces of Merry Merlot cardstock, and these both measure 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/2 inches, and 2 pieces of basic white cardstock, which measure 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8 inches. You will also need some designer series paper. Now for these, I used this one. I took from this designer series paper, and this is from Beauty of the Earth. And then this and the Seaweed I took from Expressions in Ink. For today's card, I am going to be using 2 designs from Expressions in Ink. I see I'm using this design here for my seahorses, and I'm using this for my seaweed. So first of all, I am going to do my dry embossing, I think, and the embossing folder I'm using for that is the Seashells 3D embossing folder. That has such a beautiful design on it, and although the design looks as if it should go landscape, it goes equally as well if you put it as portrait. So don't feel that you're limited with that. So I'm going to take one of my top layers and I'm going to bring my Big Shot up, and I am going to be using plates from my cut and emboss machine. So I'm using my base plate, which is number 1, and for 3D embossing folders I also need plate number 4, and that tells me on here using 3D embossing folders I need number 1, which is this, and number 4, which is this. Now, one thing I still do, which a lot of people don't, and that is I still spray my cardstock with some water. Obviously I can't actually do this on the screen, but if you listen very carefully you'll hear my thing go t-t. Okay, so bear with me. That's one at the front and one at the back. Can you see that? Yes, I saw a little bit there. Okay, I personally believe that you do get a much better impression if you spray your cardstock first. As I say, I know lots of people who don't do it, and whether their results are as good as mine or not, I don't know. So it is a matter of choice. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in there, that in there, and also in here I'm just going to put a shim, because I know my Big Shot, and the reason I don't use my cut and emboss is because Stampin' Up have told us not to use our Sizzix magnetic sheet in there, but I can't work without my magnetic sheet, especially when I'm videoing. Right, so those two I don't need. I will need my Big Shot again in a little while. But first of all, let's get this done and we put the card together. Can you see the beauty of that, how deep that is? That is absolutely stunning. Now I don't think I get anywhere near as good a result if I don't spray. Okay, so there's that. I will put a list of all the products I've used in the box below, and there'll also be a link to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop if you'd like to buy from me as well, if you don't have your own Stampin' Up demonstrator. So let me just pop these inside my card first. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. What I did on this one was I used the little fish die, which is this one here. It's one die, but it does do 2 fish, and one is upright and one is upside down, which is great. So on this, what I'm going to do is the stamp set that goes with these dies is called Seascape, and I'm going to use this one just to do some seaweed along the bottom here. So my die, not my die, my stamp is here, and I did get some Pizzazz ink out. So I'm going to stamp off on here first so I can see how wet my ink pad is. It's quite wet. Oh, that's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp off first because I prefer the lighter colour. Okay, taking off quite low so it just comes down at the bottom. And I'll do one more. And one light one there, which will make it look as if it's in the background. Okay, so that's all I want to do with that. So that can go on the inside. Another bit of stamping I will need, so I have a scrap of basic white here. I want to stamp my sentiment, and the sentiment I'm going to use, I like this partly because it fits in really nicely in there, but it says you make the world a better place. And now that we're into the new year, we have some Valentine's Day to look forward to. So that would be quite nice. In fact, shall I do it in Merry Merlot, or shall I use the... Well, let's try Merry Merlot. In fact, I know what I'm going to do. Did I get the ink out for Merry Merlot? No. Because I'm not sure which way I want this to go, what I'm going to do... Okay. I'm going to do that in Merry Merlot. And I forgot to bring it down, but I'm also going to do it in the... This is a retired product, which is a real shame because it's beautiful, and it's Delicata Golden Glitz ink. So I'm going to clean that, and I'm going to stamp on the other side in gold, so I can decide... In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to take a piece of this, and I'm going to stamp on here in gold. There's no point deliberately wasting one, is there? Anyway, if I die cut one out and decided I didn't like it, I wouldn't be able to die cut the other one, would I? That's not a very clever idea. Okay, so... But this one, the gold, it does take a little bit of time to dry, unlike the classic inks, which dry straight away. That's not very dark, is it? Did I pop that up on dimensionals? Yes, I did. Okay, in that case, let's come down lower. If I pop something up on dimensionals, I don't like to have anything stamped on the back. That's a lot darker. Much better. Okay, so I'll leave that on one side to dry now. So that will be ready to be die cut when I bring my Big Shot back. Let's just pop these bits together. Where's, what have I lost? One of my... Oh, here it is. Merry Merlot. I think this colour is very, very underrated. I don't think I see very many people using it, including myself, but it's really lovely. When it first came out, I thought it was absolutely nondescript, but when I did start using it, I could see its beauty, and now I can see it. I don't know quite how I'd describe this, but it's almost like a dirty rich razzleberry or blackberry bliss. But I think it's great. Oops, which is the front? That's it. And in case you wonder what I mean by that, is 99% of the time when I cut a card base and I score it in half and fold it, I normally find that I have a little lip, a little lip over one side, either at the back or the front. I always make sure that the lip goes at the back. Okay, I got it right that time, but it doesn't happen often. There we go. Let's move that away. It's a bit distracting. That's better. And then on the front of this one, I'm going to put that bit up at the top. Why did I decide that? Not sure really, but I did it last time. I'm going to stick to it this time. And when you're adhering very highly embossed cardstock to another layer, chances are you're going to be putting the glue on the debossed side. And it's important to make sure that you get the glue in a lot of places, because it will only adhere on the actual bits that haven't been debossed. If that makes sense. Yes, that looks straight. I'm not putting any ribbon on it, so it can go straight onto my card base. Yes, that looks straight, so that's okay. Now, to make these, I'll bring my Big Shot over first, and I will die cut these. And that's good, you can see that. New plates stuck together. I think I use the smallest of the layering circles, the straight cut. Let me just double check that. Well, that still looks as if it's wet. Maybe not. Just got bits that are more shiny than others. There we go. There we go, so we've got that one. We had this one. There we go. So we have those two, which we can choose from. So if I pop that back there, now I want to bring this over. I'm not going to use those. That's what I used for my first one. I have actually already prepared my seahorses. The reason I've done that is because the way I have raised these up, I have die cut 4 seahorses in white for this one and 4 for that one, and then adhered them down. That gives them the pop, but obviously it takes time to do that. Now these are the pieces I'm going to cut. So my first one, what should we do? When I'm looking at these designs, what I don't want is, I don't want these big white bits in the middle. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, I'd much rather have these more solid bits. So so these bits are quite nice here. So my first one, I'm going to choose to do on the lighter colours here. Okay, so this one's perfectly normal, just as you would do your die cuts. So I need my die brush. Just move that out of the way a little bit. You will find that this, I should have done a white one first, you will find that this is stuck to your cardstock. When I when I post this to my blog, I will also post 2 photographs, and they are of these. Okay, so that is the fish dye, which is that one, and this one is the seahorse. Now where I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on both of these, that's where these elements are still attached to the cardstock. It's done so that you could have that as a centre feature in your card, put a different colour underneath or something like that. Okay, I'm going to die cut one in white so that you can see exactly where I do my cutting. Okay, so first of all, I'll get most of my bits and pieces out first. Normally this comes away better from the designer series paper than it does the white cardstock, except this time of course. It's got some special little ejection holes here so that you can push these out. There we go. Well, I've broken one of them there, but that's okay. They've got to come off. So that's all the rubbish. Now there are 2 joins at the front here, so what I do is just make sure that I'm in screen so you can see what I'm doing. Right, this first one, I go up to where I need to start cutting, but I go straight over there, so this stays on there, and then I cut towards where the cut is going to finish. Okay, so that bit comes off. That bit I've already torn off, but then I just snip that. Now, I haven't cut that well, so I'm going to tidy it up now. And this one, I'm going to just do a little curved line, go round, and a little curved line. There's no right or wrong to this at all. Now, there should be one here. And as I say, I'll do a white one so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There's that bit off. And there's that little bit as well. Okay, so he's perfect, and he's a nice light colour. Just make sure I've got all my bits out of my die. I can see one there. Yes, that's good. So my next one, I want to have him facing that way. So I've got to put my die, okay, was I on screen there? I want him to be facing, so I've got to put my die on this way, so I can't actually see which bits I'm cutting. I don't want to go next to this, which is a nice colour. It's darker than this without being too dark. So I'm just going to come down here somewhere and put my seahorse on there. Okay, so that's going to be about there. Do check all your scraps before you start doing this, because you may just have the right pieces without wasting anything. So now I'm going to cut him out this way. I'll leave that away. Bring my brush back in so I can remove as many of these bits as possible. Let's see if that's going to come off quite easily. That one's coming off better than last time. In fact, you may be able to see what I'm doing better on this because it's a plain colour. No, I'm going to show you on a white one. I just want to make sure that you can see exactly what I'm doing. That one there. That one. Oh, that one's broken. Let's just cut that off up there and I'll come back to do that. So I've got this little one here. I'm just cutting from the end of the cut line to the next cut line, so that comes off, and do the same with this one. Okay, so that's him. It looks quite nice in green actually, doesn't he? But that's what he's going to look like. But as you know, when you get like this, this is not as nicely rounded as all the edges on there. I'll come back to that once I've done my white one, so I can show you properly how to cut the bits. As I say, it's not crucial. You can't well, I suppose you could cut it wrong, but it's easy enough to do. Now I know these pieces of paper, I can get 2 of these out, and what you need is you want 4 white ones for every seahorse that you're doing. You could do 5 if you wanted. If you didn't want it quite so high, you could do 3. The choice really is up to you. As I say, I've already done mine, and I just need to, I've got a piece of design series paper in there. In fact, what I've really, shall I just do one, excuse me while I talk to myself. Like that's that. Yes, because I can put the coloured one on top, can't I? Right, where's my brush? Now obviously you don't have to flatten down the edges of these that you're going to be using back to front, because you're going to be putting ones on here like this back to front bit. You don't have to worry about the white back to front because it's going to be covered by this. Okay, right. Now, if I can just mark this a bit with a pen, I will do an arrow pointing to the 4 bits that need cutting. It's not, the arrows aren't going right close to where you cut, especially on these, but it will show you. You can see quite easily these 2. There's a join line there and a join line there. And then these join lines, there's that one there, right in there, and there's one right across there. Okay. So what I normally do is, so that I'm not having to work with all this paper around it, I normally go to the beginning of that first cut and just cut outwards and then go back to the far end of that cut line. Okay, so you can still see the joins there and there. And then for these 2, I'm going to do this one first. I'm just pointing my paper snips to where the end comes. If you've got these paper snips, they're brilliant because the scissor cuts right to the end of the actual blade. So you can just position where you want to cut and you know that bit's going to pop off. Now this one, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go where the cut line started. I'm just doing a very slight curve. And again on that side. Right, you wouldn't know. You really wouldn't know at all. Okay, so there's that. I think that's all I need, isn't it, for the big shot? Well, I'll put it away. If I think of anything, it can always come back again. Okay, so now what you need to do is you need to adhere. Oh no, first of all let's get our seahorse correct. He's fine. Let me just hold these up in case you don't know what I'm rabbiting on about with the smooth lines and the not smooth lines. Pick any areas. Take his nose, that's too dark. The spines on his back, for example. On this one, they're all really nicely smoothed off, but these aren't. I hope you can see that. If you can't see it, I just hope you know what I'm talking about. So what I do is I take my bone folder and very carefully I go over every bit. I don't do it on the mat there because I want a really nice hard surface. And I do press very hard, but equally I'm holding on very firmly with my hand here, or at least with my fingers here. Okay, now this is what you need to be careful of, because you need to go round the bend. That sounds good, doesn't it? Go round the bend. There we go. Okay, now that looks a lot better. I hope this picks it up on the camera. If you try this, you will see exactly what I mean. It does look so much better. Okay? Okay, so what you need to do next, if we put this one onto here, is adhere all your 4 together, and then you need to adhere this one on top. And if you're using Tombow, it just goes so brilliantly. Now I have, oops, I have a fine tip glue thingy, and I can't do it with my left hand, being right-handed. Just make sure I get some glue down the end. I'm going to try popping some glue on the larger, that's it, larger areas first. And then I can start tapping the fine point onto the die cut. And this does help to save a lot of the glue going all over the place. I know some people do take a section of a sponge, pour some Tombow onto the corner of their mat, then dab their sponge in there and put it on here, which is a great technique, as long as when you're putting your sponge up and down, you don't allow this to bounce up and then go down in a different position, because if you do, when it moves into a different position, it goes to where you've been dabbing glue in one of the previous cutouts. So you have to make sure that you keep it really in the same position. But this is obviously a lot easier. With a die cut like this, it takes a bit of patience, but for the end result, it's really worth it. Right, while you're watching me do this, just to let you know that we have our new spring summer mini catalogue going live on Tuesday, the 4th of January, and I have organised a paper share and also a ribbon share and a gems share, and you can take part in any or all of the shares. You can have 2 parts of any share if you want to. There are plenty of options. If you order one of all 3, it means your order will come to over £45, which means you will also be entitled to choose a celebration gift. The offer is on now. If you're not on my email list and you're not a previous customer, then you won't have had the full details of it. So email me and I'll email you the full details if you're interested. as you probably know, I'm only allowed to sell to crafters in the UK, Netherlands, France, Germany and Austria. Stampin' Up rules, not mine, I'm afraid. And if your demonstrator doesn't do the paper shares, then you can obviously buy through me. The advantage of a paper share is you get a 6x6 square of every designer series paper that's in the catalogue. I can't think of the figures off the top of my head, but it is something like, I think, £28 to get a quarter of everything, whereas it should have been 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, about £118, I think, if you wanted to buy complete packets. So it is amazing value, and it does give you a chance of seeing whether you actually like the designs or not. If you do, then you can just go ahead and buy one full packet of the one that you do like. It saves you spending money on things that you don't actually like and things that maybe you won't use a whole pack of. Right, so there's this one, and I have got him on one backing. Here I have the two that I have prepared ahead of time. Okay, that one I've already painted with Wink of Stella, and I will go on to do that one. He's going to be used for another one with that one. I'll do another card, not now. But another idea that I had with this one is I took a piece of this designer series paper and I went over it using one of my blender pens with, I started off with pale papaya first, yeah, and I didn't think it showed up enough, so then I went over it with some cinnamon cider all over, and then I used my die, my little seahorse, and I cut out, in fact I did him from the back, this one, and I finished up with this, which I thought looked quite nice. If you don't like having two extreme colours for your seahorse, I thought that looked quite nice. What do you think? Obviously he would need to be done with the Wink of Stella, but it works out well, doesn't it? Right, so before I go on, let me just Wink of Stella this one. That's right. I hope you were all able to enjoy a lovely COVID-free Christmas. Unfortunately, our Christmas was somewhat disrupted by COVID. My grandson went down with COVID. He was diagnosed when he was staying at his girlfriend's house, and in the time that it took him to drive back home so he could self-isolate, Molly, my granddaughter, she escaped from the house and came over and stayed with us, because we only live about a 10-minute drive away from them, and so she was able to spend Christmas with us. And my daughter, who had arranged for 14 or 15 of us to be there for lunch, they finished up with just 3 of them, and Jack in isolation, whereas we had 4 of us because I was able to invite my son to come over as well. So it wasn't quite how we'd planned, but it was lovely to have a Christmas with my son and my granddaughter. It was an unusual combination, which I can't imagine ever planning that. But, you know, they're both very lovely people, my son and my granddaughter. So, yeah, it wasn't as bad as it might have been. It was certainly better than last year, although last year was when we were just the 2 of us. It was a lovely experience, and we both enjoyed it, but it's not quite the same as being with your family. So I hope not too many of you were disrupted by COVID. I'm pleased to say my grandson's perfectly okay now. As they say, this new variant is more like just having a cold, and that certainly was the case with Jack. So there we go, there's that one. So they're ready to go on. I've done my die cuts there, and oh, I need my my seaweed. Now what I thought about my seaweed, I have already cut it, but instead of using the one that I used for here, which is that one, I used the backing of this. Putting them together, it doesn't look very different, except I've got the really dark bits there, and I wondered if that was going to be too dark for how light my two seahorses are. What did I just do with the other one? Oh, there you go. I don't know. Shall I just cut another one just in case? I think so, because I think it's going to be too dark. Right, so there's that, and I just need the dye. I know you're here somewhere. No. Oh, come on. If I can't find it, I'm going to have to go ahead and use what I have got. That's crazy. Not down there. Not amongst this. I showed it to you, didn't I? Didn't I? What I said about the photographs on the back. Oh, that's why. On the back. I could see this. Brain didn't put together that that was the actual bit that I needed. Anyway, so that's that one. And that's coming off. That's better. Now this one doesn't have any bits and pieces that need to be knocked out. There's no holes in it. But what you can do with this one is, because they're little score lines, if you like. I don't know if you can see that. I'll show you. Oh, you can see it quite well that side. Little score lines where you can pop up the little cuts. I think I tried doing it on this one, but I don't think it really worked particularly well, mainly because one or two of them are coming up. Okay, I'll just do a couple of them. This kind of thing is quite painful to watch when you're watching somebody's video, so I won't do many of them. There we go, there's 5. Okay, so let's put this together. I'm going to follow this. And we'll do this one first. By the way, if you find, like I did with mine, that these are very sticky by the time you've finished working with them, I really recommend that you use your embossing buddy. Now this is an old one that I've got. Not that I think it spoils it, if you're not happy to use one that you're using for embossing. But then just go over it like that and give it a little tap so that some of the powder actually goes through to the sticky bit. And then do the front as well. I'm not going to redo the front because I've already put Wink of Stella on it. And then that will get rid of all the sticky for you. Okay, as I say, I've already done those. So with this now, I am going to put glue in as many places as I can. And then I'm going to pop it onto my embossed top layer. And don't forget, if you pop too much Tombow on at this stage, just blot it off onto a piece of scrap paper. Okay, so I'm trying to make that a good solid line as it's coming down. and also trying to make sure there's glue on the end of all the, like, they're not fins, are they? They're more like spikes. I wonder if any of you make New Year's resolutions. I do sometimes if I feel that I'm in with a good chance of achieving it, but I haven't thought of anything for myself this year. Let me know if you've made any yourself. There we go, that's that one. There we go. I'll also put the link below where I've got my fine tip pen, fine tip glue, glue bottles. Oh, I'm liking the Merry Merlot with this. Oh, you've got to go over a bit. I wasn't paying attention to how close he was to the edge there. And I can't move him too far, otherwise I'll be leaving glue all over here. Okay, so there's that one. Now this one I wanted taller, so he comes up here somewhere. Just a little bit, doesn't have to be much taller. Right, so let's do this one. If you don't have a demonstrator that you already work with and you would like to receive a copy of the Spring Summer mini catalogue and the celebration brochure, please let me know. Again, it does apply to crafters who live in the UK, Netherlands, France, Germany and Austria. I'll be happy to pop them in the post for you. But that's obviously if you don't already have a demonstrator you work with. Right, I think that looks about right. So let's pop that back in there again. Oops. There we go. These are quite easy to handle once you've got all that basic white cardstock underneath. Just make sure I've got enough room to pop this in. Yep, that's good. Okay, so that's those two. I don't think I'll be using that because I think this looks silvery rather than gold. So what I'm going to do now is I want this so that I can entangle that bit on his tail and that bit on his tail. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on this little section here first. So that I can get this one adhered down, and then I can do each section at a time by adding a little bit of glue. I really like the colour scheme of these two seahorses. I don't really think this would work quite so well if you use plain colours, just plain cardstock. Maybe I'll just die cut one of them to find out what it does actually look like. Right, which way did we go here? So it looks as if that went straight down from where the... Oh, you've got to go over a bit. Yeah, we could push you under there, can't we? You do have a little bit of leeway here to push this, make it go where you want it to go. There we go, see that one's tucked in under there. So first of all, I'm tucking all this down where I've put my glue. Then I'm going to put some glue on the bottom here. Come on, out you come, that's it. I'm going to put glue everywhere because I want it to stick wherever it is touching. Oh, don't leave that off. That's the only thing about using these things. You must make sure you put that stopper back in straight away, the pin. There we go. So now you will stay put. There we go. And what do we want to do with you? Just let you go down straight, I suppose. That's it. Just hold it for 2 or 3 seconds so that it does grip. Now that I'm going to try and get underneath there. Oops, I forgot to put the pin back in. Oh, that's it. Under you go. That's it. Now what do we want? Put that one down. I know what you're going to do. That one's going over. That's going across the top. Am I going off screen a bit here? That one's there. Oh, come on. That's it. That one's going to go over the top. Will you go underneath? Not easily, okay. And you can go down. I just want this to look as if, you know, the seahorses are actually tangled up in it. And you can just be normal. There we go. And for the eyes, what I did for this one, I don't know whether you noticed them. They were from these, which are in the new catalogue, Polished Dots, and they come in Calypso Coral and Very Vanilla. I've used these ones here. I did try the big ones to start off with, but I thought the big ones looked a bit too like big bulging eyeballs, which I didn't think was a good look. Actually, I wonder if Calypso Coral would look better. Oh, that goes quite well, doesn't it? Come on. That's better. No, you don't want to go, do you? Alright, something's telling me to show you what the big eyeballs look like. Come on, you can come back as well. There we go. Yeah. They do look a bit on the big side, don't they? But they look good. Right, you can stay down in there. Did I take this out of a bag? Might not have been that one because I know I had spare ones at the front there. So I'm going to pop this, I think. I'm sure that the darker colour is going to be better. Yes, definitely. Okay, let's have some as you can see, I've rearranged my blue dots, my dimensionals and my gems all into that one box, which I hope is going to make my life that much easier. Right, we'll have 3 I think around here, just to make sure they're fine. I really like those Calypso corals there. I know that there's nothing Calypso coralish in my card, but I think it goes well. Oh, you could put that down there, couldn't you? Alright, I'm going to put that down there this time. Tell me which one you think looks better. So there we go, that's today's project. I hope you like it. That's my seaweed inside and my fish inside. They would look better if I could give them eyes, but I don't like putting textured things inside my cards. So many thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope you decide to give it a try. I think I've given you all the information I need to give you while I've been working. All the measurements and all the products will be in the box below the video. If you want to know more about the paper share, gem share and ribbon share that I'm organising, please email me at janb@janbcards.com. And if you've liked my video, please give me a thumbs up. I'm really pleased to see that YouTube have stopped showing the thumbs down, which probably takes a lot of pleasure away from a lot of people. A lot of YouTubers have always said that if somebody wants to leave a negative comment, which they're entitled to, we all understand that, but they should be made to put a reason why they're not happy with it, because if we don't know why people don't like our videos, we can't do anything to put them right. So it's a bit of a waste of time. Negative thumbs down still count in our algorithms, because YouTube look at it and say, oh, she's created a good reaction, a positive reaction, not a good reaction, a positive reaction with this video, so yeah, we'll promote her video that much more. So but I'm sure that people will give up now that it can't be seen. Anyway, I hope you have a really, really lovely, healthy, very happy 2022. Stay safe, take care, stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Happy crafting. Cheerio.